Leeds.
Welcome back to Imagine Not Being Leeds, and I just want a bit of my own thoughts and my reaction on yesterday's news. 3 things I want to talk about today. Number 1, Jack Harrison. Reports yesterday came out that Everton were potentially looking at sending Jack Harrison back to Leeds in January, cancelling his loan. And then luckily, reports throughout the day seemed to say that they weren't, and they weren't willing to send him back to Leeds, which I hope is true. I do not want to see Jack Harrison back at Leeds this season. I don't want anyone to come in who can upset the apple cart, as they say. Is he a quality player in this division? He's a good player in this division. He'd do a job for anyone in this division, definitely. Is he a Premier League player? I'm not too sure. Everton is maybe his level, but he's one of them players where it's too hot and cold for me. And we're a bit of an inconsistent team at spells, with away games and stuff. And we have players who, are confidence players. We have done for a long time. Melier, Bamford, Aronson a little bit this season. Certain players, I don't want to throw another one into the mix. I feel like the left side options we've got in Solomon and Ramazani are levels above Jack Harrison, 100% levels above, even though we had Harrison as a left winger in the Prem. At times, he's still nowhere near as good as Ramazani and Solomon for me. And yeah, I spoke about maybe a Solomon and Ramazani not filling in the 10, which I think they do a good job in. That'd give you another option on left if you chose to do that, Farker. For me, I just don't want Harrison anywhere near. It looks like the reports got rubbished. Everton won't be in the market. I wouldn't have fought for spending big. They haven't really got money. They've got a lot of issues. As we know, over years, they've been a bit of a shit show of a club for several years now at Everton. In spite of building a new swanky stadium and all this, I don't see them in January going out and buying a left winger. Wingers cost money. Players to start and push, other players inside cost big money. I just don't see it. I think they'll keep Jack Harrison at the end of the year. I don't think they'll make it a permanent move. And then I think we'll have the same problem in summer. I feel like he's an easy player to move on in terms of low-end Prem, high Championship players. Teams would look at him, but it depends what money he's on. Depends what money Leeds want for him. We've had a lot of these players who are tricky to value because they've shown spells and shown what the ceiling can be, which meant they've won big contracts at Leeds United, and then the form's dipped. And unless they pick that form back up, how can you expect a club to go out and buy a player for the value you see him at if they're not showing that on the pitch? So it's a difficult one as Jack Harrison. Ideally, he played really well at Everton. Come back to Leeds in summer, we sell him on for good money because he's shown what he can do, and there's plenty of clubs in for him. Hopefully it's a Championship side and we pass him on way up. But yeah, Jack Harrison is someone I'm hoping the reports towards the back end of the day are correct, and we are looking at bringing him back. We definitely don't need him, and it's definitely not a move that sees Leeds benefit for me. It'd be a move that sees Jack Harrison benefit in dropping down in division, winning a promotion, which I think we will, and potentially getting minutes because, who's to say he wouldn't get minutes? Who's to say Farker wouldn't see something in him? But for me, he won't add much to our squad, our starting lineup especially. And I'd rather not have someone around there who could upset the apple cart, like I said earlier. And his mum's made it clear she didn't want him to play for Leeds before. He said some things in press when he left Leeds about his desire to stay at Everton and touched the nerve of a few Leeds fans. I'd rather not bring him back. So that's my take on the Jack Harrison one. And like I say, I don't think it's true now anyway. Second way is Max Ferber, Austrian international, not getting a look in really at Leeds United. When everyone's fit, we knew he wouldn't this season. We know how good Pascal Struijk is. He's his vice captain. He's a standing captain while Ampadu's out. I think he's a brilliant captain. He's a silent leader. He's someone now, Struijk, who will definitely make the step up to the Premier League. I think with ease, it'll be a seamless transition for him, albeit better quality. I think he's ready for that step up this year. And he isn't displacing unless there's injuries. And we do know with Pascal, there's always a risk of injury. He tends to get a bit of a layoff every season. He has since he's become a first team regular. But for me, you can't guarantee Wober the minutes he will be wanting. And when these murmurings coming around now, a month before January, that Salzburg are looking at potentially a loan or a swap deal with Leeds for Wober. There's been no talk, I don't think, of which player would get in return if it was a swap deal. Whether it be a striker, a 9, a 10, which we desperately probably need to look at, or another defensive option in there to replace the outgoing Wober potentially. Who knows? I would assume if it's a defensive option, the player would get back and be of worse quality, because why would they swap him otherwise? I'm not too sure about the swap deal. I think they're tricky to do. But obviously being that Red Bull network, you might see more transfer dealings or more rumours of this nature, because it could work in his advantage as well. There is some top talent in these Red Bull systems, and yeah, it could be a little thing we've got going forward, especially when we get higher up the pyramid. We're a Premier League side and pushing. There might be some really good deals to strike there. They really have produced some top talent as the Red Bull network, so be interested to see. But for me, my personal opinion, I'd like to see Wober move on in January, only if we can get adequate quality to replace him. It may be less quality, but I feel like he hasn't shown it as much. I haven't heard anything, but my own opinion of Wober isn't the best. I feel like he left it under a cloud last year after being one of the ones who said he wanted to stick around and fight for Leeds and get promoted. The first actual real opportunity of something that he liked, he went, and fair enough, do what you want. And they couldn't agree a deal. Leeds sort of priced him out of the move to go back there this year. I think it was Gladbach, wasn't it, in Germany, after a decent season, to be fair. But he hasn't been able to force his way into Leeds. And yeah, I'd like to see rotation in the squad. The defence is always one position in the pitch you'd say you don't want to rotate. If they're fit and they're ready to put their hand up to play, you keep it as it is. That back four and the goalkeeper, really, you don't really mess around with that if it's doing well. And Leeds are keeping a lot of clean sheets this season. And Stroud's probably been his best player this season. Most consistent player for me. He's been outstanding. So yeah, he can fill in at left back, but we've seen Byron play at left back as well, and he can do a job. There's Schmidt to come back from injury. I don't think he's going to get many minutes. So for me, we will move Wober on in January, and we just need to bring someone in who's happier, a little bit more happy to play that role of, like a Byron or someone who he's going to be, he's a backup from the off. I think Wober probably backed himself and thought he may squeeze into this team. I'm sure he's not daft. He'll only had a job on with Pascal Struijk and stuff, but especially with Struijk picking up injuries a lot of time, he'll probably been counting on something happening and being able to get a chance. Going out of League Cup early at Middlesbrough didn't help. Minutes there. He played in that game. That sticks in Leeds fans' memory that it was a really poor game, and he hasn't really had a sniff since. If we'd have stayed in League Cup, he might have had a couple more performances and bettered that and looked better. But there's an FA Cup game to come up. He's still around. I'm sure he'll play in that. But yeah, like I say, when we talk about League Cup, FA Cup games for a player that's an Austrian international and wants to play World Cup, you can see why there's links to him to move away. And for me, he'll want to go. For me, I want him to go and just bring in a player who's capable at Championship quality to be a bench option and bring on at the centre half as and when needed. There's always Gillavoga there as covered as well if you don't want to depend on like James De Bayo, who's obviously a youth player. But yeah, I personally like to see Wober move on, albeit we probably won't be able to get a player of that calibre coming the other way. I understand that, but yeah, I just don't want it every time there's a transfer window looming, this to come up, and I feel like he's one of them players where it will. So yeah, for me, I'd like to see Wober move on. And I do think there's truth in the Salzburg rumour, I really do. Whether it's a swap deal, I'm not too sure. But I definitely see some credibility to that coming with the source it's come from as well. Really reliable, and I can see some credence to that story. Last one is, just going to touch this briefly, Joffy. West Brom interested. I'd love to see Joffy go on loan. I thought he'd be a star of Leeds. If you'd have told me 3 years ago, he'd still be in the same position now. Probably less minutes now, to be fair, in a league below than what he was playing in Premier League. Goal against Norwich, certain games he played under Bielsa. I'd have told you were stupid. I'd have told you that I would have said he'd have been closer to an England call-up now than he would be not getting minutes at Leeds United. Like, I genuinely thought Joffy was going to be a brilliant player for us, and I think the problem for Joffy is he just don't fit the system. It's very hard, there's different types of strikers in this world, and Joffy would probably been okay 15, 20 years ago when they used to play 4-4-2 with two up top. It'd have been brilliant just off a striker, Heskey and Owen just off a big striker, him nipping round box, winning second balls, there, Fox in the box sort of burying chances as and when. He's a hungry player. I really like everything he gives Leeds. I've never heard any murmurings of Joffy behind the scenes, and he hasn't had any big season in terms of minutes for Leeds. He's had more minutes than he's currently getting, but he's never really forced his way into a starting lineup or been any more than just a part bit squad player. And I've never heard anything bad about Joffy. When you see him at Ellen Road warming up at half time, running up and down touchline, he's always giving it his all, even though he knows he ain't going to get picked. This season we've dropped down the division. We brought Brendan Aronson back. Can Joffy play at 10? I don't know. Is he a 9? Probably not. Is he a 10? Maybe more so. He's more of a 9.5. But he ain't even second fiddle for the 10 shirt this season. So he ain't playing for Leeds this season. So it has to go on loan. Has to. And West Brom, if he can get a loan at West Brom, he's done well there, because they're no mugs. He'll know Carlos Corberan for his time at Leeds United. He's a great man manager. I think that will be an absolutely mint move for Joffy. I can't think of a Championship club better for Joffy than West Brom, to be fair. I wouldn't have expected a side of West Brom's quality pushing the top